Bonjour, bonsoir, dear friends, and welcome to a very special, unique JCB Live. This is unusual in life to meet someone and immediately feel vibration, magnetism, and electricity all at once. I had this very unique opportunity a few weeks ago. This very same, very famous man is back here on Wapo Hill in the heart of Napa Valley. He gave us, with his beautiful wife, the honor to come for dinner. And we could not resist, of course, to have him so we can share him with all of you. He's created one of the most amazing phenomena in the history of talent in the world. If some of you know Pop Idol and American Idol, this is him. He started as a dancer, choreographer, writer, and all of the above. Tonight, we're going to be able to be with him. And it's very exciting because at the sound of a pop, because of Pop Idol, he shows up every time. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Warwick, the founder of American Idol.
Hey!
Ah! Tell us about how it all started.
Now, when you say all, exactly what do you mean? Because there's been a lot of alls, to be truthful.
I know. Well, we first start about life at first.
Yeah.
Born in England.
Born in England, but didn't stay there very long. When I was a child.
Well, let's have a toast first because, you know.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
We never know when we're going to get that opportunity next.
That's delicious. That's delicious.
Cabaret for you.
Yeah. I mean, I was. Obviously, I was born in England, and at quite an early age, I was about 7 or 8. My family decided that we would emigrate to Australia, and so we sold everything. And in those days, there was no aircraft that went to Australia. You got on a boat.
Really?
You got on a boat 7 weeks, and you literally went through Suez and down through it, and it was a bit like below decks on the Titanic, you know?
Yeah,
do you remember
of course.
that? Well, that's what it was like. We got to Australia, to Adelaide. The good thing was I'd seen half of the world in that trip. And
you were how old?
I was about 8. I was 8.
Big changing.
Big
life
change. Big change. And I had a younger sister. Yeah, a younger sister who was 5. And the minute we arrived in Australia, in Adelaide, we needed to get to the hostel that was where we were going to stay. And the taxi driver that picked us up ran off with my mother 3 months later. And that was a blow. And my father became a raging alcoholic.
Wow.
Because of that. So he picked us up from school one day in Adelaide. Literally, we got on an overnight train, went 1,000 miles around the coast to Sydney, and then inland for about another 80 miles, and into the outback of Australia, where we lived in a tin hut. For in really quite dire straits, to be truthful. I want to keep this light, but it was pretty. We were under.
Great. We're going to talk about so many amazing things that you've achieved, but I bet you no one knows what happened. So how did you survive?
To be truthful, this is a story that some people know. We were literally starved. Myself and my younger sister. My father used to come home once a week. He was always drunk under a tree or something, and my sister became ill. And if you didn't have any money, as we didn't, then you just had to suck it up and get on with it. But I was worried about her. Father nowhere to be seen, and I was just nearly 9. I got on I walked into the local town, a place called Roosey Hill, in the outback of Australia, and couldn't find a doctor. Sat by the general store, and a guy came through the doors with a glass jar with a spider in it. And it had a big red stripe down the back. It's called a redback spider. And he took it into the store and he gave it to the guy behind the counter, and he looked at it and put his hand in the till and gave the guy money. And I thought, hang on a second, I know where there's spiders like that. Underneath my tin hut, they were everywhere.
Really?
I ran home. I literally, and I promise you this is true, I was 8 years old, I took a fly off the window, went outside, threw it into the web, and stood there with a lolly stick and a jam jar stick and a jam jar. And as the one leg came out, another leg came out, and I popped it into the jar, ran back to the general store, and he gave me, in those days, 2 and 6pence.
That's amazing.
And in truth, that was the first decent meal myself and my sister had had for about 2 weeks. And for the next 3 years, I fed myself and my sister from graduated onto poisonous snakes, and they would bleed them for the venom, because in Australia, of course, it's necessary that they have anti-venom for all these bites. Yeah. And that's literally how I sort of survived in Australia. Then one day my father did come home and said, right, pack up, we're going back to England. So.
And how did you cure your sister in essence as well?
She just needed food.
That's it?
That's it. When we started eating properly, then it all got...
Unbelievable.
So that's...
Well, she must be forever grateful of those moments.
She was, yeah. Unfortunately, this sounds like a terrible story. Unfortunately, she was killed in a car crash when she was 17. But, yeah, it was quite a... I often think... An experience no matter how bad things get, after that, they can never be as bad as they were.
That's right. And do you think that really made you who you are today?
I have no idea, to be absolutely honest, Jean-Charles, because when we came back to England, things didn't get much better. Yeah. I had been to 24 schools in that time, all over Australia, all over the world. So I knew everything about life, but I didn't know anything academically. So we ended up living in Liverpool in the early 60s.
At least you had a good football team.
Oh, he did have a good football team. We've still got a good football team. What do you mean?
I'm not sure about that. That's another discussion.
They're in Europe. But we ended up in Liverpool, and my father came to me and said, "Oh, I can't do this again. This is no good. But we're going back to London, him and my sister." And I said, "I've had enough. Dad, I'll get a job." I was about 15. I'll go and get a job, which I did on the docks of Liverpool. Wow. And I'll look after myself. Like an idiot, because there's no way a 15-year-old boy is going to earn enough money to look after himself, especially in England in that time. And things got pretty bad again, and I ended up living in a semi-demolished house. There's a river, the River Mersey, the Mersey. They were building the new tunnel, and there was a block that was under compulsory purchase order that was going to be knocked down, and a friend of mine's dad had a barber shop there. And he said, you can live over the barber shop if you want. It won't cost you anything, Mm-hmm. So I lived in this, broken windows and a mattress on the floor. And I was just 15. And again, I didn't have enough money. I started to starve again. And I thought, oh, this is ridiculous. And this is my entrance into show business. I was so hungry. I remember I was walking past a church hall, and there was a table of sandwiches and a tea urn there. And I thought, oh, I've got to have some. And I just walked in and I stuffed it, put a plate for it, and I tried to make it look like I should have been there. Yeah. And I turned around, and on the wall there was a thing that said Wallasey Drama Club. And I thought, oh, this is the home of the Wallasey Drama Club. And suddenly I had a mouthful of Battenberg cake. A voice said, oh, are you here for the audition? And I went, yes, of course. And they said one thing, you've got to have an Australian accent for this part. Duh. Magic. So I went, I got the part, I got really good write-ups, and one thing led to another and to another. And I thought, this is easy. I've got no skills, I had no education, but I can be an actor. It's a piece of cake, this. I went from, this drama club to another drama. Whoever had the best craft table was where I went.
This is amazing. And you were living by yourself? I was living in a
semi-demolished house. I couldn't tell anybody where I lived because I was too embarrassed. I was going to, this whole thing, I was going to be an actor, and I was doing a musical, and I remember playing the stage, sitting there, and suddenly all these gorgeous girls walked in, and I thought, oh, what? And, this is, I thought, what's this? And they did the number called Bushel and the Peck, and from Guys and Dolls, that was the musical I was doing, and I thought, oh God, they're the dancers. They're gorgeous. Okay, forget about the acting. I want to be a dancer.
Well, I'm going to drink to this reassuring evolution here. That's amazing, though. So basically, the world of show business
was an accident.
But do you think it was fate?
I do in a way. Yeah. I had this thing. Even when I was in Australia, I kind of in the next town. Yeah. One day, another immigrant, an Italian boy, came to my house and said, "Ken, they're showing a film on a sheet in the square of the next village." And I said, oh, Gus, his name. I said, Gus, this is ridiculous. It's a mile away. He said, no, if we cut across the outback, it's fine. So I went, oh, okay. And I swear this is true too. We went, and he came to a barbed wire fence, and there was a bull in the fence, on the other side of the fence, in this field. And he put his leg through, and he ran across, and the bull looked up at him, and he said, come on, Ken. And I went, oh, God, okay. And I put my head in, and the bull stayed there. And I thought, OK, I started to walk, kept my eye on it, and it was fine. I took another step and it looked up, and it might have been all right with him, but it sure as God wasn't all right with me. And it started to charge me.
Wow.
And I ran like a lunatic. And literally, luckily, common sense, he opened the other end and I threw myself sideways. I lost half a yard of skin and half my T-shirt. I got there and I went and sat down in this square on the grass, and they were playing a film called Pollyanna. And it was Hayley Mills, and I sat there and everything dissolved away. And immediately I was madly in love with this girl, or the character she was playing. And I thought, this is, I've got to do this. I've got to meet this girl, And I came out and we helped the guy put the chairs away, and he gave us the fare to go back to the station. And I went and I sat on the station, and it was put your hand out for the train to get back to where we were going.
Sure.
And I thought, this is it, I'm going to do it. And I know I'm going to do it. And I looked at there was a blackboard with train times on the side, and it was May the 3rd, 1961. Huh. And I thought, this is it, this is the day. I had that feeling that this was going to be it. One day I was going to meet her,
That's an amazing story. Well, let's drink to that. Let's drink to the sound of crystal.
Sound of crystal.
So do you feel in life a lot of that is written or pre-written, and we predestined to have this? What a path. I mean, dear friends, I had no idea of the extent and the depth of this story. I'm shivering.
Well, it kind of, I don't know whether it was hope and of course it was, something always happened that was luck or serendipity or something that got me to the next level. Huh. When I was really down that day, one day I woke up in that barber shop and to a crash, and the windows smashed at the back. And I looked out, and there was a crane coming down with swinging the ball, just getting rid of all the junk. And I literally grabbed everything I could, put it in a dustbin bag, a trash can bag, ran out and sat on a bench on the other side of the road, and watched them demolish everything that I lived in. Because I thought, if I was under there, no one would know who I was, where I was. I'd just disappear off the face of the earth. So I spent that night on the park bench in Liverpool, freezing because it was cold there. And I thought, at that time, I was playing the juvenile lead in a musical called The Desert Song in Liverpool. And I went to the rehearsals that night, and I said to the guy came out, the treasurer came out, and he said to me, Ken, we need your subscription. And I didn't have a bean. I said, Frank, I'm so sorry. I haven't got any money. My house has just been knocked down, and I came clean with him. And I thought, oh God, he's going to get the police on me. And he said, hang on. I think he panicked a bit because the part I was playing was singing, was dancing, was acting. Yeah. I think he was thinking, where the hell am I going to get another young lead that can do this?
Talent.
Whatever. But he went away, got his wife. He came back and said, Ken, we haven't got any spare room, but we've got a cupboard under the stairs, a little triangular cupboard under the stairs, a bit like Harry Potter lived in. He said, you can stay there if you want to stay. Basically, I thought, you just want me to finish the musical and then you're going to get rid of me. But bless him, I stayed with him and his wife, and then the principal, who was the director of that musical, who owned a dance and drama school, said, Ken, if you want to stay, I'll give you a scholarship. And she never gave scholarships to anybody. She was a dragon. And so I stayed for about 8 months, stayed there, and I had a semblance of dance training.
Yes.
And in my school there, I sat the very first day I walked into my school there, I sat next to this guy called Nigel Lithgow. I sat next to him, and the teacher said, don't talk to him, he talks too much. And to be honest, his first words to me were, did you go home for lunch? And I said, yeah. He said, did you hear the Beatles' latest record? So I said, yes. He said, how's it go? And it was, I Want to Hold Your Hand. So I sang a bit to him. Then we both got into trouble for making a noise. But that was the very first relationship that I had in Liverpool, and it's gone on to this day, in actual fact, to the vineyard that we now own in Paso Robles.
Well, this is amazing. So before we go to wine and obviously some of the amazing things you've achieved, so how did you discover that talent of dancing? Because you didn't have a formal training.
No, I always had a very good sense of rhythm, and I did that 6 months at the school when I lived in the cupboard under the stairs of daily, everyday training. Before it was once a week, half an hour a week, like most kids do. but I always had a good sense of rhythm. I was never a great dancer. My legs weren't long enough, my neck wasn't long enough, and I knew I'd never be a brilliant dancer. But I quite enjoyed it. And the truth is, Jean-Paul, I had nowhere else to go. I had nothing else to do. And I stayed there for, I don't know, probably about 5 months. And then the term ended, semester ended, and I got a job in a local, you could call it was Butlins holiday camp. It was like it was a holiday camp where people went on holiday. Basically, all the miners and all the steel workers and all the people who had no money would go to these holiday camps for their holiday. And I did a season there, which was really quite colourful. And then I was prepared to go back to continue my training. And I suddenly got a letter from my mother in Australia that I hadn't seen for, 5, 6 years by then, saying, I'm back in London, I'd love to see you. So I went, OK. So I went from the holiday camp.
So she had left the taxi driver?
She had 3 kids with him. But he started to hit her. And she said, that's it. She went straight down, got on a boat
Plane
and came back to it. That was it. And I went to see her, and it was while I was there that I got a phone call from someone saying, Ken, the Young Generation, which was the BBC premier dance group of the day, are holding auditions on Friday. Why don't you go along and try? And I'd seen these kids on TV for forever, and I thought, wow, they're great. There's no way in a million years I'm going to be any good at this. I'm not going to get this audition, because it was a job that every dancer in London wanted.
Well, it's a dream.
Well, it was a dream.
BBC and all that.
Yeah. So I kind of went. As I was sitting on the underground on the tube train as I was going. Every place we stopped at, more and more gorgeous-looking guys, and really good-looking guys, really good-looking girls, and I thought, oh, I look like a scarecrow. I mean, I lived in a cupboard for 3 years. I thought, there's no way in a million years I'm going to get this. And I went into the rehearsal room, and there were 400 people at least there.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even see. The choreographer came in with his assistants, and everybody all went in front. And I thought, I can't even see what they're doing. Oh, this is ridiculous. No. And I kind of ambled to the side to see what he could do. And there was a clock above his head. And this is me talking about luck.
Yeah.
I know he put on a piece of music. Everybody knows dancers start with 5, 6, 7, 8, go. And he put on a piece of music that was just a string glitch, and there was no rhythm to it. And then suddenly it went da 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 da, and he shot out his legs into this yeti thing and was off. And all the dancers were saying, well, how did he count that? How did he count that? And I'd looked at the clock above his head, out of nerves or anything, and it was like 4 and a bit seconds. Mm-hmm. And so I stood there and I just looked at the clock, he put it on, I counted, and I just jumped. And as I jumped, it was went da da da. They all thought I knew what I was doing, thought I could count it. And suddenly they all got behind me, and I was at the front.
You did it?
Yeah. And then we got whittled down. Every time I thought the finger's going to be pointing. Thank you very much. Next, And sometimes I thought, I'm getting down. This is ridiculous, because I wasn't great at it, but I was the only one who started and finished in the right place. And sometimes I'd stand there and I'd go like that, and then 3 people would jump, and then the choreographer would say, "Next, out." Open the door. And to cut a long story short, they said, "Come back tomorrow for for a vocal audition," and I knew I could sing a bit. I went back the next day, and I ended up getting the job. And that was the beginning.
Can we sing the piece now? Do you remember it?
The piece I sang was a piece from a musical called Wildcats, called "Hey, Look Me Over." Do you know it at all?
No.
OK. It goes, hey, look me over, lend me an ear, fresh out of clover, mortgage up to here. Don't... And it went on.
Wow, and what a voice.
Anyway, I ended up getting the job.
Wow.
And the next day they asked me to go...
1 out of 400 people in the room.
1 out of 400 people. I mean, it was, as I say, luck, fluke, right place, right time. Yeah. The fact that I watched the clock rather than tried to count the music.
Observations. I mean, what's your big advice to everybody watching us? I mean, what a path. Because we talked about your first tranche of life, as we say. First amazing slice, and then it becomes better and better in a very glamorous way.
If I would say this to anybody.
Yes.
And it's a philosophy that I've always had in the back of the mind, and there's different ways of saying it, but it's never not dare to hang yourself.
Yeah.
In other words, if you see the opportunity there, go for it.
Yes.
Because if you don't, one, you'll never get anywhere, because you just won't take the chance. And you'll see someone else get it, and you'll think, I'm better than them, and I didn't do it. Why didn't I do it? And that was kind of a philosophy. Whenever anything really huge came my way, then I would say, oh, I don't know whether... You know, the self-doubt, of
Yeah,
course,
of
creeps
course.
in.
We
you know.
all have it.
Of course we do.
We all have it.
And it kind of gets hold of you, and you think, I can't do this, I can't do it. And then you think, but if I don't have a go, I can have a go and fail. So what? Doesn't matter.
So what?
You know. But, you know, luckily
That's a great advice. So would you say that's the cornerstone of your career as far as staging everything to what you've done after?
I guess it is. I was never very well educated, as I've just told you. I was never a clever person. The right words wouldn't come. But for whatever reason, I did have a talent.
For sure.
And it didn't matter what it was. I could visualise things. I was an introvert. I was very shy, painfully shy as a kid. But I kind of, whatever situation I was in, I kind of absorbed it. So that if in the future, when I was directing, for instance, they said, oh, OK, this is a Saturday night dance hall in northern England somewhere, I knew exactly what it should be, but what it should, you know.
Right.
And I was lucky in that I got trained in the right way. I was when I was at the dancing school in that 6 months.
Yeah.
We did Kismet as a musical,
Yeah.
and they taught us some Indian dance thing. Go forward 20 years, and I'm in India with the Miss World beauty contest.
Yes.
And they say, look, we've got 50 Bollywood dancers here. Can you give them something to do? And I thought, well, I'm not exactly an expert, and I gave them this dance.
You went on stage and you showed them?
I showed them, and I set it, and the papers came to me. Where did you learn how this fantastic local dance stuff?
Well, and you're a creator of so many different phenomenal shows as well. So let's go to one of your most exciting favorite creations. So let's have a toast, first of all. What a life, and thank you immensely for sharing. I mean,
that's right. I'm sorry. I hope it wasn't depressing. I know you came here for a good time, and I've just told you the bad
well,
stuff.
it was fantastic, and I think we all have those images of what you've done, and for everyone who knows you, always the glamorous side and the very successful side, and the TV side and the movie side, and thank you for allowing us to get to know that.
You're
side.
welcome. I very often look at people like Spielberg. Not that I'm comparing myself with him, I'm not. But he is a quiet, down-to-earth guy.
Yeah.
He's not flamboyant, he's not extrovert, and yet he's talented, and he can create those things. And very often I meet some very extravagant, in Hollywood particularly, outgoing people who tell me they're fantastic. And then when it actually comes to doing it, I think, that's it? That's how fantastic you are? Or you're not? Happens a lot.
Yes, So, Pop Idol.
Yeah.
American Idol.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal, obviously, an enormous deal. And I know it's one of so many you've done. So maybe you want to tell us how this all started.
I was doing a show called Gladiators, which we had in America, but we had an English version that actually we spent an awful lot of money on, and it ran for 9 years. I produced that, and it was very successful. And when it finished, the networks centre, the people who commissioned the show, said, Ken, we want to set up a wrestling federation. And I said, you want to set up wrestling, like WWF?
Yeah.
Because we don't have that in England. We didn't really have it in Europe. The guys here used to get on a jumbo jet, all of them, fly to London, put on a big show, get on the jumbo jet and fly back to America.
Really?
And it used to fill the place, thousands of people. Huh. So the network centre decided they wanted to do this. So I said, OK, I'll set it up. I kind of knew the way it would work. And I spent 3 months putting this all together, and I'd just finished, and it was all done, and it was all going to be great.
As the executive producer?
As pre-production as the executive producer of WWF wrestling in England and Europe.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
they called it the Global. We called it the Global Wrestling Federation. And
pretty far away from the dancing world, though.
Well, it was about to come around because what happened was that when they somehow, a guy called Simon Fuller, who was the manager of the Spice Girls, had decided he wanted to do a kind of talent show. He didn't know what, he didn't know how, and he went to the network centre and sold. He's quite flamboyant. He sold them the idea, and he sold it to the production company that I was working for. And literally, the phone rang, and it was the network centre saying, "Ken, we'd like you to." Luckily, at that point, I was in good stead with them because Gladiators had run for 9 years and it was very successful. That we want you to do a new audition show. And I said, what do you mean? They said, well, you were a choreographer, weren't you? And I said, yeah, I was a choreographer. They said, so you know the audition process? I said, really well. So they said, right, we're going to do it with music. So I said, OK. What exactly is it? And they said, well, it's going to be a talent show, and the winner's going to be given a contract by Simon Fuller. Yeah, that's it. That's it. So they said, yeah, go away. And so I went away for 2 weeks. Yeah. They dumped the Global Wrestling Federation, costing the production company a lot of money. And I sort of sat down with a blank piece of paper and constructed it so that you saw the bad and you saw the good and you saw the ridiculous and you saw the humour. You know, there's certain ingredients that you must have for a successful show. It's got to, especially reality. You know, it's got to have jeopardy. You know, it's got to have honesty. It's got to be honest. If you fiddle or anything that people are doing, then you lose your credibility. And once you do it once, you're lost. It's got to have heart, you know, and it's got to have real talent at the end of it. So I kind of put those things in this format, and we refined it over a small period of time. And we went on the air in November in 2000 in England, and it just went
crazy. And the name of the show was
Pop Idol.
Pop Idol.
Pop Idol.
At the time.
Even the Queen would rearrange her diary for that day so she could sit down and watch it.
Did she apply to perform?
Strangely enough, no. Do you know what? I don't know what I'd have done if she'd have walked through the door. I really don't.
What would you have done if the Queen says, Ken, I want to be on your show?
Do you know what? Just for the hell of it, I'd have said, you got the job. You're on, love. Get out.
Good job.
Yeah. But no, and it just took off. And I only did one series in England.
Yes.
And then they flew me to South Africa to get it started in South Africa, France. It started in France and Australia.
Which became a huge success. I mean...
Oh, it's global.
I was in France at the time.
Yeah.
Enormous success. Prime time on television.
Yeah.
And enormous, right?
Yeah, and from that first season was when I won the Gold Rose of Montreux, which you all know being European.
Of course.
But in America they don't know, which is...
It's a huge deal.
It's a huge deal because it's just one award that is laid out to 253 stations throughout the whole of Europe, the whole Eurovision family, if you like, all put in what they consider to be their best show. And it's only one award.
That's amazing.
There's a bronze and there's a silver and a bronze, but it's not like one for every category.
Yes.
Is this the show? Is this not the show? And then on the night, they led me to believe that we'd won the silver, which I was made up. I thought, that's fantastic. And they sat us near the front, and the guy came out and he talked to chat away. And then he said, and the silver goes to a different show. And I thought, oh, you bugger, you wound me up, you had me sit here, just to get me here probably, and it wasn't.
But after silver, there's a gold.
The next guy came out, one of the managing directors of one of the European networks, and he started to describe the show that they had decided to give the gold to. And I suddenly thought, it's us. God, he's going to give us the gold show.
I got to have another sip.
So that was it. I got the Gold Rose of Montreux, which was a big deal.
This is enormous.
It was a big deal.
So then, congratulations. So was the show what we know as American Idol?
Basically, yes. Luckily, when I came, as the show became more and more famous in England, the sponsors, Ford and Coke, came on board.
Wow.
So when we came to America, they kept us waiting outside the commissioning editor for we went first to NBC. No, not interested in your silly little English show. Okay, fine. We went to Warner Brothers and other people, and finally Fox said they'll see us. We went in, finally sat down, and he said, look, I'm just going to tell you that don't hold your breath, because this show you will probably be on the plane back to England within 6 weeks. We will pull it.
Wow.
Okay, thanks for the compliment.
That's encouraging.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the encouragement. Exactly. So we went out and we held auditions for judges. We already had Salman Cowell, and we did the pilot. And then I suddenly got this note saying, the bosses at Fox want to see you. So I thought, oh God, here we go. So I walked up all the stairs with all the...
You're thinking you're going back to England?
I thought, that's it. They're going to pull the show. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest, John Charles. And the double doors opened, and there was an oval table. Honestly, there was 50 people around it. It was ridiculous. I'd made the show in England with nine production staff. Yeah. There are 50 people that weren't even on the production staff attached to it. Amazing. And I walked in and I sort of joked, what do you want to do? You know, oh, we'll go around the table. Oh my God, go around the table with who I am and what I do. I lost the will to live after about the first 10 people. Anyway, the boss at the end stands up and says, Mr. Warwick, he said, this is what we'd like you to do. We've seen the pilot. First of all, you have to get rid of that English judge. He's too acerbic for the American public.
Yeah.
Well, I said, yeah, but that's kind of why he's there. you know, and we don't want to see any bad auditions because we only celebrate the successful in America. And I went, hang on, guys, this is a different show.
Yeah.
You know, that you've just, well, you must go away and you must fix it.
What happened?
The audience came, the whole thing took off.
And how do you attribute such a success? I mean,
because
in all those countries, because it's one thing sometimes you have a success in one culture,
yeah.
but it doesn't translate necessarily.
When it comes down to those ingredients I told you,
Yeah.
I believe, because every good reality show has a bit of fun. It's funny. It may not be belly laugh, but it's that's amusing. That's great. There's jeopardy in it. You know, will he stay? Will he go? There's a real talent. That guy's great. Do you know what I mean? He's got to do well. There's all these things, and I thought if we can get that in America, then people are gonna. Everybody wants to be in America. Everybody wants to be either a famous actor,
Yes.
or a film star or a pop star.
Yes.
So the auditions that we held around the country, we would have 10,000 people turn up for an audition at every venue we went to.
How do you manage this process?
Well, in truth, we had to hold it in football stadia.
Yeah.
And then we'd have...
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. That was the only way you could handle it. And then we'd have 12 junior producers who I'd auditioned, know they could sing, they had a good ear for music, they had a good thought of, you know, it's not just having a good voice, it's got to be a unique voice, you've got to have a bit of charisma, you've got to look right, or be absolutely laughably terrible. And you take the very best and you take the very worst. Because the majority were okay, but nothing to write home about.
But you personally did not attend all those big gatherings. You come just at the end when
At
there's
the end of it,
like 100?
No, 400.
400.
At the end of that day...
Is it 400 because your first audition you succeeded, but there were 400?
No, there was no
The
ulterior,
1 to 400
there was no ulterior
ratio?
motive behind it, Jean-Charles. I'll be honest with you. We could only see 400 and next. Nigel and I split up, and we'd have the kids come in, and as they were coming in, we'd ask, tell us your background, tell us your story, where you're from, what have you done, where have you been, who are you? And that's basically... Afterwards, it was a big problem with the network, because the first thing they said was, what's going to happen? Show me a storyboard. Yeah. Don't know what's going to happen.
So it's real television.
That's what I said. It's reality.
Yeah.
You know.
It's authentically live.
What happens happens. What if they're terrible? Yeah. Great, as they were. Many of them were.
On that note, what's your favorite, most laughable story to share?
Oh, there's so many.
I know, but maybe a few.
There was a guy called Keith. Oh, the truth is, I'd have to show you.
We know many Keith here.
Yeah. But,
could have been him.
I mean, the thing that was always funny was the kids who genuinely thought they were great. And presumably their mums and dads and their uncles and uncles said, oh, you're fabulous, you've got to go along to American Idol. And they cannot sing a note. They were tone deaf, their voice was terrible, they dressed appallingly, bless them. Maybe because they were... I always used to... Sometimes, I'll be honest with you, some kids came in and they had nothing. They weren't good looking. They had no decent clothes like some of the kids had. And they couldn't sing, they had no talent. Wow. And I'd put them in just so once in their life they could say, I got through that, I gave them the golden ticket. For sure. And then, okay, I knew they'd fall down at further hurdles down the road. But
at least emotionally you helped them somewhere.
Somewhere, sure. Yeah. I mean, it didn't happen always, but where I could. Yeah. And even with the 12 producers, I knew out of the 10,000 people, they are going to make 1,000 mistakes. They are going to turn away someone who is every bit as good as the person who's going to win this. But you have to play the law of averages, you know?
That's it.
It's it, you know? And strangely enough, after my second season of Idol, I was kind of thinking, we can do this in other areas too. Mm-hmm. And I went to have dinner with Simon Cowell, and we put together America's Got Talent. And
wow,
that kicked off, and that's another
enormous hit.
Oh,
is it a bigger hit than American Idol?
I think in the end it will be, because a lot of what goes on, you don't need a language for. You don't need people saying that every country can do it in their own language. And many of the acts that come on, it's not about what they say, apart from comedians, or what they sing really. It's all the crazy and weird and wonderful. I based it initially on, do you remember The Gong Show?
Yes, I
thought,
do,
you know, the bad would be that. But some of the talent was so good that it kind of changed slightly. And it's now, today, it's in 78 countries around the world.
Unbelievable. And how did you get started, that one?
Literally from Idol's working, you know. We had a couple of ideas. We did a junior one, which we did for one series, and then they always compared it to Idol. Idol was earning the network around over $1 billion a year, not just in the ratings that we had, but when we came off the air, even if half the audience left, the remaining audience would make the next show a success.
Yeah, that's it.
House started off like that. So
Really?
yeah, so that was good. And then people would go to bed, they'd get up in the morning, late for work, put television, still on Fox.
Yeah.
So the uplift to the network was astronomical. And they then expected everything you did to be as successful as that, and that was never going to happen, you know. So it was kind of it was a process. It was everything was a process. But we went to NBC with AGT, with America's Got Talent, and they said, yeah, okay, with the clout of Simon Cowell behind it, even though initially he couldn't be on it, then it kind of
became the success.
It became a success.
What's your most fun story on this one, if any?
Well,
I'm sure there's a million. Which one we would select?
The one where I did the very first show and sent it to the network, and again, the boss turned around and he wrote to the whole production staff saying, "This is a terrible show. I hate it. It's never going to work. I want nothing to do with it." And I got this letter the next day, "Please change it." And I walked in and my boss from the network was in there saying, "Oh, don't worry, yeah, we're going to change it, we're going to change it." And I went, "No, stop. You're not going to change it. It's going to work." And I thought, if it doesn't work, I'm out the door. But it went out that night and it got an 18 in its opening premiere. And so that was another... It just goes to...
Another Emmy Awards.
Well,
you got... How many do you have?
I only have 2 Emmys.
Well, only 2?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
but I've got the BAFTA and the Gold Rose of Montreux, and I've got about 30 others of lesser...
That's amazing.
You know.
And where do you keep them?
Oh, just on the sideboard in the front room. They're not in the bathroom or anything like that. You know, it's just.
Just wondering.
I don't even. I walk past them every day.
But what a satisfaction! I mean, what an amazing journey.
But that's what got me into wine, because at the time I was doing Idol and AGT at the same time in a week. I was turning out 5 hours of live television a week, and I was exhausted. I just couldn't. You know, and I needed somewhere I could relax, somewhere where I could go at the end of the, for a couple of days and just completely chill out and forget about all the problems that were visited on me by the network. And it was that we ended up in Paso Robles looking at the...
So tell us about the wine adventure, because that's another world.
Cheers.
So, dear friends, Knockout. This is a wine that is really celebrating your life.
Look at that bottle.
I mean,
Isn't
the
that
Golden
fabulous?
Glove, you have them. You know, the Emmy Awards winner, we had to find a wine that is a knockout for you.
And what is this?
Aha, you tell me.
Oh, don't know.
Hey,
what did I say to you?
The expert
I said to you, don't ask me anything technical about wine or I'm leaving.
Well, it's red. That's a good observation, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to get this wrong. Is it a Cabernet blend?
Yes.
Oh.
He is right. I knew he would be.
I'm so impressed with me.
Yes! Well, let's have another toast.
Toast,
So it's a Cabernet Petit Syrah.
Ah.
So it's a very powerful blend. We make only 50 cases of this wine. And this is really when we are with people that gives us that level of energy, that level of inspiration, that we have to have it. So It's a wine made for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
But which is amazing is you're in Hollywood, spending a lot of time there, and you want to relax with wine? Is that the idea?
That was the idea.
Take it easy?
We finished series 2 of Idol. Again, smash hit success, ratings through the roof, and we were in San Francisco. And Nigel said, "We haven't done the ocean route down the coast." And he said, "Through the Big Sur, through Carmel, Monterey, it's beautiful." So I said, "Yeah, it is. I've heard of it. Let's do it." So we drove down, and as we drove down, suddenly we hit wine country, and he said, "You know what?" He said, "We should maybe think about, buying a vineyard." And I went, "Well, it's the most attractive. They're the most attractive agricultural project you could ever wish for.
For sure,
they are lovely, and we love wine. Not at that point expert in any way. We just know what we like.
Yeah.
But we stopped, and there we looked at 3 or 4. not good.
So you really decide, I'm going to buy a vineyard now.
Well, yeah.
Here we go. I just came out of the house. I'm doing Highway 1.
True. And also, you know, at the time, we were earning a lot of money that was mainly going to the government, of course.
Yeah.
So we thought, you know, there must be...
You don't like giving the money to the government?
I don't mind. I
And
would give willingly half of my money to the government. What I don't like doing is giving more than half my money.
I agree with that.
You know, and it's just, we decided this is it. Let's buy this. And of course, as soon as we bought it, well, that silly house has got to go. So we knocked that house down, and we built a beautiful kind of villa there, and then we found out we had phylloxera. Wonderful.
Ooh la la.
Yeah, so we had to spend $2 million replanting.
It's a little illness that we could identify in wines that could be destructive.
Yeah, very destructive.
Well, you replan and you start new.
We started new. But then, of course, you got a 3-year leave, so it was 3 years before we kind of had any money coming in.
It takes a while.
It takes a while. It's a labour of love.
It's like love. It's all about
patience.
patience.
It is.
What about your love life?
What about my love life?
Well, I've met the beautiful Julie. She has gorgeous blue eyes, dear friends. Piercing blue eyes where I lost myself into the Pacific Ocean.
I went, when I was back in the Young Generation in the BBC, they said, guys, you need headshots for, we were doing a live show, they needed a programme. They said, go along to this photographer and he'll take some headshots of you. And I walked into the studio of this photographer, and on the wall was like a 12-foot square photograph of Julie's, face. And I went, whoa, she's lovely. I said, who's she? And he said, oh, that's Julie, she's a dancer. And I'd been around in London for quite a while, and I thought, I've never come across her. And they said, well, no, she works up north a bit at the time, a company called Granada. And I went, oh. At that point, I was the assistant choreographer of the group at the BBC, and we were holding an audition 3 weeks later, and she walked through the door. Needless to say, she got the job.
Ooh la la. That's pretentious of you to say.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry, I misunderstood.
No, she was very good too. I mean, let me just add that. She wasn't rubbish, she was very good.
Yeah.
And she was gorgeous, you know.
And how many years was that?
Oh, gosh, Jean-Charles, it was 19... No, oh, yeah. We've been together now for like 45 years.
That's
a long
amazing.
time.
Yeah. So how do you manage such a beautiful marriage, 45 years, yourself surrounded, no pun intended, by a few talents?
Well, it's complicated because she knows that my whole life as a choreographer was making fashion shows.
For sure.
So I'm surrounded by gorgeous models. Television shows with dancers, invariably I used to love doing Busby Berkeley stuff. Yeah. So I'd have, 20, 30 girls,
for sure,
hanging around me. And then I got the Miss World Beauty contest, which I did for 20 years. So I was, my whole life.
So you were managing Miss Beauty contest?
I was directing, choreographing, and at one point...
So what happened we met 20 years ago?
Well, I was looking for you. Where were you?
Finally showed up.
It was, and I have to say, it was a great job. These, not because the girls were gorgeous, but basically, they walk in on the first day and they've got high heels up here and shoulders out there and eyelashes up here, and you think, oh my God, these girls are gorgeous. They're so intimidating.
Yeah.
How on earth am I going to talk to them? I can't even talk. I'm supposed to tell them what to do. They look like they could eat me alive. And then when I say, tomorrow, girls, can any of you dance? I'm making when you're a choreographer, then what happened when the MTV music video thing broke, then of course it was choreographers who ended up, because they were musically orientated, directing a lot of music videos. Yeah. The first one I ever did, I was doing a tap dance routine for a comedy show, and in the next studio, ABBA were playing on a pop show. Wow. And I noticed them looking through the window, and this thing was a kind of colonial English Raffles kind of set. And I finished the dance routine at the end of that day, and the director of that show came and said to me, Ken, can you do anything with this? And he gave me a cassette, and it was One Night in Bangkok.
No.
And I went, yeah. And I said, I can, sure. I said, when do you want it by? He said, the end of the week. I went, what? Luckily, I got in touch with the designer. I said, I want this set.
Wow. And
we took it into another studio, and I dressed it up, and that was the very first video I ever made, and it won the best video, 1974, the Best Video of the Year award.
Amazing.
And from then on, I did music videos with Paul McCartney and Billy Ocean, and a lot of... I had a...
What was your ultimate favourite that you want to share?
It was my ultimate favourite. Was the very first one, One Night in Bangkok.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, yeah, sure, Paul McCartney's great and all the rest of it, but it was, you know, sometimes there's so many people around them that you can't get to talk to them or get to know them very well. But the ABBA boys, I have to say, are great. They were lovely. They left me alone. I did it. It went to #1 in England and 9 other countries, and when it won the award.
What a great group.
They're great. Fabulous. They're fabulous.
And what do you think you haven't done yet that you wish to do? Besides wine, of course.
Besides wine, I did a number of Miss Worlds in South Africa.
Yes.
And when I was, you know, the Miss World was great for me because I literally took 120 girls out into the desert or into the jungle or wherever we were going, and I could put together a music video that was entertaining,
for sure.
and they loved doing it and I loved doing it, and they're children. You say turn up tomorrow, no, just in your trainers and your rehearsal gear, and you walk in and there's a bunch of little girls looking at you, you know, and you think, my God, you know, you'd have looked like you'd have eaten me alive yesterday, but now you're a little girl, you're a baby.
What's your most fun moment if you reflect on?
On Miss World?
Yeah.
It's a story that every
It's got to be good.
every year on Miss World, they on the Wednesday before the show on the Sunday, they would have a talent contest, just with the girls, for the mums, dads, sponsors, chaperones, about an audience of about 500 or 600 people.
Yes.
And the idea was the girl who wins the contest would then be a cabaret act in the main television show, and it would save them money.
A cabaret act? You mean like cabaret?
Oh, wow. And yeah, they would save $40,000 rather than book
That's a big
Bruno Mars to come and sing. They have, we've got Miss China, she's got a fabulous voice, and she'd come on and sing. So they gave me the job of pre-auditioning the girls to take part in this talent show, because they all wanted to. Generally speaking, it was, you know, what do you do? Oh, I do the fabulous dance from my country, the national dance from my country, and you get 3,000 of them. So I've got to weed them all out and just have a kind of, you know, half a dozen, 6 or 7 acts that are really quite good and stand a chance of winning. And we had this girl comes on.
I feel it's got to be fun.
She came on and she said, ladies and gentlemen, she said, Ken, I said, what are you going to do? Her name was Olga, and she was from Ukraine. What are you going to do? I go,
I'm glad it wasn't the Olga from Austin Powers.
No, it's not the Olga. No. Bless her, sweet kid. She said, I play the guitar. Oh, really? You play? What are you going to play? I'm going to play Cavatina, which is the deer hunter.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum. And I thought, it's a bit dreary, a bit slow, a bit dreary. I don't want to put the audience to sleep. But I thought, so I said, okay, darling, okay, just wait, and I'll see if I've got room for you at the end. I'll see what I've got. The next girl that came in was a Miss Russia called Katrina. And she said, I come from... Now, in Europe, there was a very big news story about a submarine called the Kursk that sank in the Bering Sea, and international rescue attempts to get these. There was 110 sailors or something in it, trying to pull it up, and they couldn't. And then there was an explosion in the front, and they all drowned. This girl came from the town where the submarine was, where the dockyards were, and she knew some of these boys from school. And she was very emotional, and she said, I want to do an in memoriam poem that I've read, that I've written for, and I thought, oh, that's nice.
But that's a little deep.
That again, I thought the audience are going to want to go out and commit suicide if they listen to this. And I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll have Olga come on and sing, start playing the guitar, and then from the other side of the stage, I'll have Katrina come on, and she will read the poem, right? So I explained, ladies and gentlemen.
I can only imagine where it's going.
Anyway, Olga starts playing, dun, dun, da-da-dum. Oh, God. Out comes Katrina. And as she walks out, I think, what's she wearing? Now, this girl was a Miss Russia. She was fabulous. You could just stand there and look at her forever, and, you know, and it was pleasurable. She was lovely. And she had a fabulous body, and she knew it. She wore crop tops and mini skirts or short hot pants every day. You wouldn't see her out there. She walked on, and she had this A-frame dress on. And I thought, that's weird, and it came to below her knees, and had a big red tassel around the neck. And I thought, this girl, maybe in deference to what she's doing, she's decided that the memoriam thing is going to be so. So she starts the poem with the music in the background. I think, okay, good. And she finishes the poem. And I think, great, and the Olga on the other side is just playing the last 4 bars. And as she's playing the last 4 bars, Catherine walks forward to the middle of the stage and grabs hold of the tassel and starts to pull it. And as she starts to pull it, the dress starts to rise.
Oh.
And I'm thinking...
Well, this is the submarine coming up.
Well, I said, what's going on? You know, what's she doing? And I don't know. And as she's lifting her dress, stuck on her thighs, you know, on her private parts, and on her boobs, are pictures, photographs of the sailors that have perished. And she gets to the end, and she's standing there, and she walks forward, and of course, the women in the audience are, and the men in the audience are, yeah, go Katerina.
Let's lose a few pictures, maybe.
She gets to the end, she walks forward, and without a moment's hesitation, without any sense of embarrassment, she says, ladies and gentlemen, seamen. Everybody goes, turns, and walks off the stage. All you see is at the back of her knickers, back of her panties, walking off the stage.
That's
brilliant. And I thought, oh my God! And of course, I got an earful off the organisers because what do you think you're doing with her? She can't do that. She's done it. It's done. There's nothing I can do. I can't go back in time.
So how did you react to this?
There was nothing I could do, bless her.
It's pretty brilliant.
It's pretty brilliant.
People loved it? Or?
Yeah, well, the men loved it. Let's put it that way. But many of these Eastern European girls have no sense of embarrassment about anything.
Yeah.
Who wants to do it? I'll do it. You know, they're there. They don't go red. They don't blush. That's it. You know, that's their way. That's their way. How they've been successful in life.
That's so good.
But that's my favourite story.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Let's have a toast to this. And as we're having a toast to wine, tell us about your great partners and what you're doing in the wine world, because all our friends want to hear, and I know we all going to indicate to all of you the involvement of Ken in this wine world, which is exciting, but tell us about this.
I was, same thing, luck. One day at my vineyard, my Villa Saint Juliet, I had a visit. It was initially a business visit from. I needed a new general manager, and
so you have your vineyards. You rebuild the villa.
Vineyards. I'm not you. I've got a vineyard, just the one.
It's a beautiful place in Paso Robles.
Yeah, and in came Andrew, and I said, you know, what kind of a deal do you want? And he told me, and I went, what? Are you really that good? Because, to be honest, up to that point, I'd had some disasters as general manager.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
You have other things to do.
Yeah. Getting good staff. It took me 5 years to get decent staff.
Yeah.
So anyway, it didn't work out, and I said, you know, no, Andrew. And he said, oh, I've got a partner. He'd just finished it with another vineyard, and I'd like you to meet him. So Don Daniels came. So that kind of synergy I felt with this guy, Andrew Nelson, his name is, and he was a really nice guy. I mean,
he has a great smile too.
And he's a great guy.
And I think what I like the most is his charming wife.
Yeah, there's a surprise, Jean-Charles.
She's fabulous. She's a great inspiration for him. Thank God.
Thank God. Yes. Oh, yeah. He won't put a step wrong when she's behind him. He'll be in trouble. But I instantly liked him, and we chatted, and it was unusual. Generally, in America, it's all about, I always felt whenever I was talking to people that I didn't know particularly well, it wasn't who I was, it was what I did. I was Ken Warwick, the producer of American Idol. Yes. I wasn't Ken Warwick, you know, and it kind of didn't sit right with me. And so we would have polite conversation and we had friends, but I never had that connection.
That's right.
And Andrew was one of the first people in America that I had that connection with. And then I met Don, and it was, we had the same sense of humour. He was incredibly clever. He was Harvard, you know, he's a Harvard business major, and MBA rather. And they said, look, we're going to start up a new business called War Room. Are you interested in coming in and getting us off the ground?
Very cool name.
War Room. Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, they're obsessed with Churchill, and as you know, during the war, the War Rooms were underneath the Whitehall, underneath 10 Downing Street. So that's how the name came
This
about.
is so cool.
And
are you loving it now?
Yeah, I am. It's really good fun. They don't need me, really. I mean, what do? I pass my opinion, but when it comes to I found out since that if you want an expert in wine and all that goes with it, Andrew is the man, and if you want someone who's going to look after the business side of it, Don is the man who to write the contracts and everything.
So you have the trinomial dream.
Exactly, and the thing for me was the acid test, which is they were successful.
That's great.
They took a wine that was really a Team Better Days. They rebranded it. They reblended.
And which one is that?
That was Lapis Luna, the first one.
For sure.
And Lapis Luna is doing it exponentially. I mean, it's just exploded. It's fabulous. And then since then we bought Bonnie Doon, as you probably know.
Yes, of course.
And that is also doing very, very well.
Which is a fantastic.
So it's nice
great name.
Whereas me, in my vineyard, I wasn't having that much success. I do.
Yeah, but often it's the combination of multiple talents.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So now, 2 more questions, if you don't mind. We still have one in our glass.
I shall. Go on.
What inspires you? Because you've done, so much.
I'll be honest, I've got 2 loves in life. The thing that I miss about American Idol, I don't miss the politics. I don't miss the consistent confrontations with the network that I had.
Yeah.
I miss the live music.
Mm-hmm.
The live music and the involvement with the kids. These kids that were, this time last week, were cleaning windows or flipping burgers now they've got something. Okay, what are you going to sing? Well, I'm going to sing, I don't know, I'm going to sing the national anthem. No, you're not. Have you heard this song by that? Being brought up in Liverpool, of course, in the 60s, really.
Yeah.
It was the Beatles, it was all the Merseyside sound, and there's all these, and then Burt Bacharach and all these, that we were quite amazed that American kids didn't know half of their own musical heritage. They'd never heard of George Gershwin, Cole Porter. They'd never heard of some of them hadn't even heard of Stevie Wonder.
No.
And you go, their songs are magic. Go away, learn these songs, and they come back the next day and say, yeah, I love this song, and they'd sing it and they'd kill it. They'd be great. So I miss that interaction.
Well, I would imagine, and allowing people to become who they meant to be.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes they're lovely when they're not so famous, and the minute we become famous, they're pains in the bum. But
did you actually, within either shows, identify the talent that became very big?
Yeah. I'm Kelly Clarkson I met in a bar in Dallas, and she said, I'm coming to see you guys tomorrow. So we said, oh, really? So we went, yeah, she said, give us 8 bars, and she sang 8 bars. Oh, you come, love, you're good. Carrie Underwood literally lived in Oklahoma in a small hut. Her father used to run off into the woods every time we turned up with a camera. It's kind of nice. And they, they were, the majority, not all of them, but the majority were nice kids, and it was good to see them do something special.
So now, what is your dream?
There's one thing I would like to do, and I don't know it's ever going to happen.
Are the networks watching?
Oh, God. I would like to make a film in South Africa.
Oh.
The light in South Africa, well, probably the light in the whole of Africa, in truth. You get to that God's hour, the golden hour, you can throw the camera on the floor, and the pictures that come back are fantastic. And I've been back 3 times and done 3 different television series.
Really?
Using they've got good talent there. There's none of the rules and regulations that tie you down here. I did a stunt show, the best stunt. Many of them French, I have to say. Yeah, best stuntmen in the world are French.
Really?
Yeah, and I'd take them out there, and it didn't matter what I wanted them to do. And sometimes they came up with their own stunts that were fantastic. Things that I had one guy come to me and said to me, "Okay, we take 2 hot air balloons up." So I said yes, and he said one goes 500 feet higher than the one below. He said yeah. He said then I'm going to jump out the basket of the top one, yeah, and I'm going to land on top of the balloon of the one underneath.
Why not?
So I said, "You can do this?" So he said, "Yeah, no problem, not a problem." So I said, "Okay." I said, "Look, I've got to have helicopters and all sorts with you up there, So we got up there, and he jumped, and he completely missed, and he just went straight down to the ground. I said, well, geez. So he landed. I said, "What happened?" "Oh, Ken, really sorry. No, don't worry. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine." But then the guy who ran the balloons said, "Ken, the heat in Africa means that the heat of the air that has to be inside the balloons gets so bad he can't land on top of this balloon. He's going to scald himself. He's going to." So he said, "I'll throw a cargo net over the side, and he can fly into the cargo net." So I said to him, "Are you sure you can do this? Don't make me waste any more money or time." "No, I can do this. I can do this." So up we go again, and he jumps out, and I'm saying to all the cameramen in the helicopters, "You know, you got this. You ready to record? Everybody recording? Yeah. Okay, go." So out he jumps, and he flies like a bullet down to this second one, you know, skydiving,
of course.
and he hits the second balloon cargo net like a bullet and rocks the whole thing, and he tumbles and he grabs hold of the very bottom rung of the cargo net.
Wow.
And his parachute is wrapped around the cargo net. So I think, oh my God, he's got a head cam on, and he looks at his altimeter, and I think, because I can't talk to him, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? He lets go, and he cartwheels down. He goes to open his second parachute, and that doesn't work either. He gets tangled up in his legs, and I'm thinking, oh my God, for a stupid television show, I've just killed somebody. Luckily, he gets rid of it, and they wear, most gentlemen wear a belt parachute that is, in case they get knocked out.
The front one?
That comes out if they get knocked out with atmospheric pressure. When the pressure, they set it when they're up there, and then when the pressure is, it automatically deploys. Well, this thing, thank God, automatically deployed, and he landed. It went poof, woof, down.
Wow.
And I thought, thank God from that. But where he landed was on a farm, and you know how things are in South Africa. Suddenly these two Dobermans come galloping out of this farm and bite him on the backside. They're literally hanging onto his backside.
Well, better the back than the front.
Well, exactly. Exactly.
At least he had something left.
Yeah. But I kind of landed, and I went up and said, are you okay? Are you okay? So he said, yeah, I wasn't expecting the dog to down. You think,
After falling.
You think I said, no, he was more worried about the dogs than he was about falling 1,000 feet to his death. But I did that in South Africa, and every time I did that it was great. So I'd like to make a film, a romantic film. I'd like to in South Africa.
It's better to stay away from stunts for a little while.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. They're so exciting.
Well, romance, you know, the French are still willing to go for that.
To be honest, the best. Well, you know, the guy that invented the flying suit was French.
I did not know.
Yeah, he was French. All the best guys were. Huh.
But South Africa, and what a beautiful place, maybe to make
beautiful
wine.
place, lovely place. I just loved it.
Well, what a time together. Ken, thank you so much.
You're welcome, John.
What a time. And dear friends, we're going to have an amazing dinner, but the last word are yours. So at the camera,
yes,
you're going to send a message to the world of whatever you want to say from such an amazing, incredible life. I mean, I would like to spend 3 more hours, and luckily we will spend another 8 hours
you
at
need
dinner.
another bottle of wine. Then.
Well, and the cellar is right below.
The cellar's right below.
We good. Okay. We know where to find. And you know, Andrew may be here, and I know he's brought a few cases of wine from the war room.
Oh,
so
good. Oh, that's good. That's good. No, the only thing I'd say was to reiterate what I'd say to all young kids who have a dream out there is what I said early on, never not dare to hang yourself. If you have an opportunity to do something, then whatever it takes, don't shy away from doing it. There's every probability you will be better than the person that gets it if you don't go for it. And if you don't go for it, you'll never know if you made it. So remember that. Never not dare to hang yourself. Yeah?
What an inspiration.
Cheers.
Ken, thank you immensely.
You're very welcome, John.
I cannot wait for our dinner, dear friends.
I enjoyed it.
See you soon.